Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Om. Salutations to Bhagavan Ramakrishna. Part 8 of Girish Ghosh, the Household Disciples of Sri Ramakrishna series. Girish, as we've seen the last 7 sections, how he was, as they say, drawn to Sri Ramakrishna. Today we're going to see how he and Vivekananda interacted. And that was a wonderful, you can say, combination. Girish had done everything a spiritual aspirant should not do. And yet, through grace, he was brought in touch with the Guru. Vivekananda did everything that a spiritual aspirant should do perfectly. And so the combination of these two, it's amazing. You know, they're saying both were kind of geniuses. They were very creative. They were very intelligent. They started off as very cynical. Yes. And at the same time, both of them had a great sense of humor. They had a large heart. And somehow both of them were drawn to like Sri Ramakrishna. Because as you see that both had struggled in their own lives, in their own way, to come to the Guru. They wanted to know what reality is. So Swami Vivekananda used to ask everybody, have you seen God? Have you seen God? And then he went through a period of atheism. Oh. Girish Ghosh started as an atheist. Oh, God, God. Then suddenly, all his temporal, you can say, successes, as well as doubts regarding God, came because he suffered bereavements one after another. And he suffered a lot. So he went from a believer, then he went from a non-believer, then Swamiji started also as a believer, as a young boy. Then he went through the period of atheism. So they both struggled spiritually. And both were rebels. Yeah. It's strange, you know. When we see Sri Ramakrishna, he was the kind of a magnet which drew everybody towards him. At the same time, we don't see the interactions between the other disciples. We see only the Guru and the disciple. But the disciples themselves used to interact with each other, and they contributed to the growth of the understanding of themselves, of the Guru, and of spiritual life. So Sri Ramakrishna's, he was a great alchemist. Girish contributed to Swamiji's understanding of Sri Ramakrishna. Swamiji contributed to Girish's understanding of Sri Ramakrishna. This was, both were very, you can say, towards when they came to Sri Ramakrishna, Swamiji was born perfected in meditation. Girish, he had tremendous powers of concentration. He could lose himself in the particular work or a conversation or a mood or anything, or in a song. So one time, this was towards the end, they were both in Kashipur. Sri Ramakrishna was there, and then he was ailing. So they were both meditating. And Girish says, I was getting deeper and deeper into meditation. I was about to plunge into meditation. And then he was being bothered by mosquitoes. Now, this is one thing that people don't realize. The mosquitoes in Bengal, especially in those areas, they will take away everything, all your devotion and all your knowledge and everything. I went through years and years of squatting mosquitoes. Don't worry. When I was in Bengal, after I joined the monastery, I said, these mosquitoes, we used to cover ourselves. But both were meditating, and he was getting distracted with the mosquito. Then he opened his eyes and he saw Swami Vivekananda perfectly still. He called out to him. There's no response. Then he looked closer and he touched him. He's saying Swami Vivekananda's body was completely covered by mosquitoes, like a kind of a blanket. There were so many mosquitoes biting Swamiji, and he was oblivious. So he was stunned to see that lack of body consciousness. This is called meditation. We hear something, a little, it's something, and then our meditation goes away. Imagine the mosquitoes feeding on you and you are oblivious. And when he was unresponsive, Swamiji, he tried to rouse him from the meditation, pushed him and almost dragged him to the ground. He was frightened because he did not see Swamiji ever in this kind of state, where the external consciousness has completely disappeared. The consciousness is within, and it's deep within. So when you go deep within, you lose all sense of the body. The body is connected to the world, so you lose all sense of the world. The world does not disturb you. Nothing comes in. The senses are dead. The mind which is associated with the senses is gathered in and made to plunge within. So the mind also is not responsive to this. The brain is a kind of out of the question. So with great effort, he brought him down. And then he used to call Girish Ghosh GC, Girish Chandra, GC. So he's saying, why are you so afraid? Swamiji came out of meditation smiling. Why are you afraid? Now, both of them, they knew each other for years and years. And I say it was a kind of a repartee, a kind of a intellectual jousting, as they say. Girish understood Swamiji's powers, and yet he was so friendly and loving to Swamiji. He took advantages also, argued with him. Girish, his first wife had died, he had remarried, his second wife had died, and she had left a small baby, child. The child was growing up, and very amazingly, it had to be held only by devotees of God, or devotees of Sri Ramakrishna in this case. Anybody else holding him, that child used to weep and cry. One time, it was weeping, staring at a picture of Sri Ramakrishna. And by that time, Sri Ramakrishna's picture was being kind of published. Gazing at it. And then he began weeping. Then they probably thought he wanted the picture of Sri Ramakrishna. They brought it down. And when they took it off the hook, and they found a lot of ants at the rear of the, as if the child was kind of intuitive to understand that, yeah, these ants have been kind of bothering Sri Ramakrishna. For him now, Sri Ramakrishna was kind of alive. So that was, he used to pray to the gods and goddesses, especially to Sri Ramakrishna. He would sit calmly in front of the pictures. One time he fell seriously ill and Girish did everything to cure him. And then he found that the child will not survive. He was about 3 years old, child is not going to survive. Then he said, what if I give up my claim on the child, relinquish the child? Sometimes the karma of the father or the mother kind of affects the child also, and the child's karma affects the karma of the parents. It's a kind of, they're interlinked. So if the child can be saved, I'm going to relinquish my child. He told Swamiji, you grant him monastic vows, which is stunning. It's never done. I mean, it is done on very, very rare occasions. And Swamiji agreed to initiate him into monasticism. So, those mantras are whispered in the ears. And so Swamiji whispered the sannyasa mantras in the ears. But now technically that child is a monk. It's a 3-year-old. However, when Swamiji began his itinerant life, the wandering life all over India, he left, the child passed away. So that was. I'll speak a few about their interactions. Balram Bose was the great householder disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. And one time he invited both of them. He used to invite all the devotees. He invited both of them and he sumptuously fed both of them. Because he was told, you can feed them, you get a lot of merit. When he was telling Balram Bose about feeding the monastic disciples. So after the food was over, Balram Bose offered mangoes. And it's a mango season and they're eating. Girish is getting all the sweet mangoes. I mean, when he's peeling them, when the sweet. And Swamiji is getting all the sour mangoes. 1, 2, 3, what's that? So, Girish, Swamiji says, are you rascal, Girish? You have prearranged this. You get all the sweet ones and I get all the sour ones. And then Girish also says, you see, we are householders and we have come in the world to enjoy the world. You have become a monk. You are a spiritual beggar. You get what we give you. So you are fortunate to get even sour ones. And so both of them laughed heartily. So it was, Girish says of him, Swamiji was full of sweetness inside. So it did not matter if anybody spoke harshly to him or sweetly. It was, so he had that great love for humanity. Even as a young boy, it was exhibited there. So they used to again saying, how come you? He's saying, they used to playfully chastise each other. They're saying, see, you're a monk. And in India, monks, they are like synonymous with begging because they have to beg their food there. So you are a beggar, they say. And Swamiji will say, what makes you think you are something great? You are a clown. And not only that, you make others also dance. Like, he was a stage actor and a director and all that. You're making people dance on the stage also. One time, they on a serious note, they were both debating. So Swamiji says, you'll see. And, Swamiji, what he used to kind of instigate a kind of debate while countering Girish's, you can say, arguments. So he could understand how Girish's mind works. So one time he says, see, I cannot believe that the infinite God can be incarnated in a human body, 3.5 cubits. Do you know, can you understand this? It's infinite. And for that to be compressed in a human body? So Girish says, yes, it is possible. And they began arguing, and as they began debating, more arguing, debating, it got louder and louder, and Swamiji is smiling and, countering each and every, you can say, argument that Girish puts in. Finally, Girish, they were sitting down, finally Girish slapped hit his hand on the floor. It's a kind of great annoyance. And he's saying, you rascal, telling Swamiji, you keep quiet. I have seen the infinite God take a finite form in the human body. And then immediately Swamiji got up and embraced him. Swamiji, he used to say, tell his other brother disciples, at least there's one disciple of our master, that is Sri Ramakrishna, who can never be brought down from his immovable mountain of faith. So Girish was, his entire life characterized, in fact, his entire spirituality was characterized with faith. The faith in the Guru, faith in God. He had tremendous faith, and that came from faith from himself. So he understood his own weaknesses, his own strengths. He had a large heart. He understood himself. People say, have faith in God. What do you mean, have faith in God? You don't even know about yourself to have faith in yourself. Only once you know yourself, you'll have faith in your abilities or everything, whatever, skills or talents or your knowledge. And then you can have faith in God. People say, have faith in God. So it does not work the other way around. Have faith in God, then you have faith in yourself. No. This is how it goes. So Swamiji had mentioned this. So in 1893, as we know, Swamiji had come to the US. When he returned in 1897 back to India, and Girish and all these people, they had come and met him, and they say, so Swamiji is saying, in the US I had gone, I had moved around, none could stand my arguments, either for or against or whatever. So they used to be kind of cowered into, you can say, into submission, into defeat. You're the only one that I really love debating and who does not take defeat easily. And I have not defeated you. And Girish was so, you can say, saying, no, you don't say that. He's saying, don't say that to me, brother, saying. So, because he had said, you're the only person whom I have not been able to defeat in an argument. But he followed Swamiji's career in the US, and when he was told how, when on his return, the entire country was kind of roused into religious fervor, he was thrilled. Okay? Later, he started the Ramakrishna mission. The Ramakrishna order was started. There were monastic disciples and non-monastic disciples. And he framed the initial, you can say, ideas and ideals on which the order is going to be run. And Girish gave his approval. Later on, he's saying, you see, I don't know. I was debating whether I should form a kind of organization or no. At the same time, I don't want to contain all of Sri Ramakrishna's teachings, etc., within a small group of institutionalized, because it will become a sect. And Sri Ramakrishna did not like sects. So it is narrowing things down. And Girish was saying, you are an instrument in Sri Ramakrishna's hand. Whatever he makes you do, you must do. I don't know about all these things you have just mentioned. I see the Master's powers working through you. And as they were discussing, he's saying, sometimes I wonder why I should do all these things. Again, he's saying, Girish says, who else will work? And then he says, he's guiding you. And Girish says, he's guiding you. Swamiji also acknowledged, he's guiding me through everything. And then he says, you will attain success in what you do because Sri Ramakrishna is there. And then immediately he turned the topic to kind of other things like what's life in America like, how prosperous it was, and this and that, and all this. So he just brought out Swamiji's attention from there, because he knew that if Swami Vivekananda would dwell on his own spirituality, he would give up his body, because he had heard from Sri Ramakrishna himself. So once he knows who he is, he'll give up his body through an act of yoga. So there was one incident when he was in Chicago. He was walking down on the lake and he sat down. And then everything was so calm. Lake Michigan. And then his mind was soaring into the Brahman. And as it was soaring, if he would have gone there, he wouldn't have been able to come back. His mind was about to be merged in Brahman. Then Sri Ramakrishna appeared, saying, "Oh, Narayan." And Swamiji brought his mind down. Sri Ramakrishna had come to remind him, "Hey, you've got work to do." Not Swamiji's work himself, but Sri Ramakrishna's work. So it used to happen like this. Whenever Swamiji would try to plunge himself into that, he used to be pulled out. It happened in India. It happened another time on the East Coast also. Somehow, he should not know who he really is. So that is what. So Girish also knew. So he conveniently changed the topic. One time, it was during that time, Swamiji was teaching one of his disciples. They were discussing commentaries on the Vedas. Mahidara's commentary on the Vedas. And so he was talking and how creation comes out of vibration, sound. Everything is vibration. And this was one of the Vedic, teachings. So they were discussing this, how the entire creation, everything vibrates. Atoms and electrons and everything, and we all vibrating. And they were talking today of vibrating strings nowadays. So that was known a long time back. So, and then Girish enters and then he's saying, "So Girish, you are not interested in this Veda and Vedanta and all the studying of the Vedas." You are only busy with this Rama and the Krishna and this and that. So he's saying, listen, the master made you study all this Veda and Vedanta because he had to do a lot of work through you. As for me, through his grace, I have crossed over the Vedas and Vedanta, the books. And he takes the book, the Vedas, and touches it on his, salutes it, puts it on his head, saying, glory to Sri Ramakrishna, who is the form of the Vedas. And one of the designation of Sri Ramakrishna is Nikilo Veda Murtaye, the pure form of the Vedas. So don't get ideas about, he looks like this, he's the form of the Vedas. Then suddenly Girish becomes, listen, you used to call him Naren, his pre-monastic, saying you've studied enough Vedas and Vedanta and all these things. Okay, have you found any way in which people can come out of their profound miseries, their suffering? And he starts enumerating the sufferings found in society. And that time Calcutta was the capital of the British Empire in India. So he's saying, do you have any answers for all this grief and all this suffering and all this adultery and all this crime and all? And he kept on enumerating this, and Swamiji became still. He started weeping, and he got up from the place where he was sitting and walked out. He just couldn't contain all that emotion. So then, after he came back, he was a little contained and saying, Girish tells the disciple, do you see why I love Swamiji? And what a great soul he is, what a great loving heart. The moment I drew the picture of what human's life and suffering is, he began weeping. And all the Vedas and Vedanta disappeared from his mind. So then he says, that is why he is considered the master's greatest disciple. His heart was so tender. You know, Swamiji, he could not, like normally we go to sleep. It was only very rare occasions that he could sleep at night. What was he doing? Meditating? In the earlier years, he used to meditate the whole nights. He never used to sleep. But later on, he never used to sleep at night because he was trying to find answers to human suffering. How to alleviate human suffering. How to alleviate misery. And he had traveled a lot and he had seen the degradation, the poverty, the illiteracy, the ignorance in India. And he was searching for solutions, searching for ideas. What can be done? You know, that was colonial, you can say, British India. And the country was simply being sucked of all resources. There was famines and there was diseases. So that used to keep him awake. For us, we'll read about it, we'll see something and we'll go to sleep nicely. And even snore, for that matter. Swamiji came and saying, even if I have to be born 1,000 times to save one soul, I will do it. And then he says, what good it is to attain one's own liberation? The idea is to take everybody towards liberation. This was exactly Swamiji's, you can say, large-heartedness and his idea of spirituality. You're searching for your own liberation, you're selfish. Be strong enough to take others also. That's why the prayer, Muktasya Anyan Vimochayed, those who are liberated will liberate others. So his entire work was for the liberation of souls. And another time, it was Sri Ramakrishna's birthday celebration, 1898. Yeah. And all the monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna were there, and they were, spiritual stalwarts. Just unimaginably great. Each disciple of monastic disciple, and equally the householder disciples also, they were kind of tremendous. We will see the life of Nag Mahashai after we've completed Girish Ghosh. It's an amazing life, the householder life. They're blazing fires of spirituality. So Girish had come, and then what Swamiji did was, on the Shivaratri day, the worship of Shiva, they kind of smear themselves with that sacred ash, and they wear that kind of the dreadlocks, the matted locks, and and they put all the Rudraksha beads, the beads on the arms and this and that, dress up like Shiva. So Swamiji, he smeared that holy ash on Girish and put on the dreadlocks and a wig, of course, and then all those beads and all, and he wrapped him with that ochre cloth. You remember Sri Ramakrishna had reserved one piece of ochre cloth for Girish, and Girish then couldn't wear it, and he was so emotional. So he wrapped it around his head and had come and bowed down to Sri Ramakrishna. That Girish, though he was a householder, his sense of renunciation was so highly developed, it was equal to anyone else, even those who were the monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. Renunciation means the idea of sacrifice, sacrifice of the idea of the ego. So that is real renunciation. And now Girish was looking like with those matted locks, and you can say the smeared white sacred ashes and beard. You're looking like Shiva. And then Swamiji says, the master used to say, Girish is an incarnation of the Bhairava, a companion of Shiva. So he's saying, don't see any difference between Girish and us. He is equally great. And then today he's saying, Girish, today tell us about Sri Ramakrishna. And Girish was choked with emotion. He tried to say things, couldn't. He was just kind of blurting out, saying, what can I say? That the Master's all merciful grace, I feel it, and that is the reason why I am here today with amongst the very best of his disciples, who were the kind of world renouncers and world movers. And his voice became choked, and he couldn't say, kept on weeping and weeping and weeping. And the other monastic disciples and people were stunned seeing it. So when you become highly emotional, it's very difficult to talk. Yeah. And then you just cry. So that was that mutual love and respect Girish had and Swamiji had for each other. One of the biggest blows Girish had in his life, he had plenty of blows, when he started young. And he's saying he saw his brothers and sisters dying, his father, his uncles, one after another. But when Swami Vivekananda died, Naren died, that was the biggest blow to him. When Sri Ramakrishna passed away, Girish did not even go to see Sri Ramakrishna, because saying, I will not be able to stand that kind of that tumult, that emotional upheaval. When Swamiji Vivekananda died, Swamiji said, I won't live to see 40. And by that time, one of his, somebody had asked him, now do you know who you are? Because the master had said them, when he knows who he is, he'll give up his body through an act of yoga, just through will. So he knew, he gave up his body. Yeah, 4th of July, 1902. And we celebrated 4th of July. And kind of coincidence. So Girish, he went to Belur Math the next day because the body was going to be cremated. And he that day broken-hearted and continuously lamenting. You were supposed to live and spread the glory of the Master by telling people the story of my transformation. But fate has destroyed this dream of mine. I am an old fellow, he's saying. He was about 19, 20 years older than Swamiji. So he was around 59, 60 during that time. And yet I have to live to see this terrible scene. You are the Master's son, you have gone to him, and we are left here in this condition. How unfortunate we are. And he was poetic by nature and that, but and he was one of the great actors. And one thing, because he understood human nature and human character, when he used to depict that, he became that. And his performances were very powerful because of this. So in this, because he was deep enough, people, they interact with one set of people and that's it. Their capacity of the heart or the mind can't take in many people inside to study, to understand him. It's just not possible. Of their kind only, Girish was like that. He's saying, I have studied the life of many lives, from a Paramahansa, that is Sri Ramakrishna, to a prostitute. And so I know all of them. So from this you can understand that his capacity to understand people was extremely large. Not biases and judgmental or something like that. He went and understood people as they were. Generally we box people up and this is what. So this was how these two great souls, they both had come to different paths to Sri Ramakrishna. How they helped each other, how they learned from each other. And today we are grateful, of course, for Swamiji, how he spread Sri Ramakrishna's message and all these things. But we are also helpful and fortunate to have been given the opportunity to have the life of Girish Ghosh in front of us. Because he is the perfect example, of how a person who could be so far away from God or spirituality and he was completely an atheist, how the person can be transformed and be made. So if Girish Ghosh could be transformed, there is hope for all of us, because he had gone down to the very bottom of everything. He scraped the. So one time he's saying, if I knew there was such a big hole to throw in all my sins, I would have committed more sins. Because he had come to Sri Ramakrishna. Saying, So this was Girish Ghosh. So there's, the idea is, can spirituality transform the worst amongst us? It can transform the good amongst us. It's very easy. Can it transform the worst amongst us or the worst traits in us? Yes, the spirituality of Sri Ramakrishna can transform us. So, what is spiritual life? It's a set of transformation. It's a journey from one point A to you as a material being to you as a spiritual being. And you encounter all these things. So, Sri Ramakrishna says, you take one step towards God, God takes 10 steps towards you. So there you'll find grace lifting you up. That grace is transforming you. Okay, we stop here for today. The next section of this life of Girish will say, Girish's interaction with the Holy Mother. That was another wonderful kind of interaction. So that's next Friday. And then remember, we have Saturday, that's tomorrow. And then Sunday, we have stages of supreme knowledge. People talk about knowledge of Brahman, knowledge of this and knowledge of that. So we won't go into the technicalities, but we'll give you a kind of a basic understanding of the 7 stages of supreme knowledge, spoken from the standpoint of yoga philosophy. We also have Mother's Children at 9:50. We also have Ram Nam tomorrow, Sunday evening. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Okay. There were no questions there, so we can kind of take some. I'll take some questions.